what we are looking for is hopefully in this hedgerow here. Now, I just need to remember exactly how far down they came, but there should be some young shoots coming up in here. So I've just got to have a little look until you see the creepers. It was either further up this way a little bit, or it was down the other way. It might be back the other way, so let's just have a look. I wonder if you can guess what I am on the lookout for before we find it. It's something that is said to be one of the most expensive vegetables to buy, because it's so hard to grow and cultivate. So let's just have a bit of a look further down here. Okay, we found it. They were just a little bit further up than I expected. So these are, I think you could have guessed it, these are hops. And what I'm after are these young shoots that are coming up. Right, so I'm back with this. I had to run to the house quickly to put it under the grill because in this caravan the grill doesn't work very well. So I've put it under the grill up at the house, and this is the frittata complete. I used up some of my organic free-range egg rations today because I found a goose nest, and although we've got 4 eggs a week, which I haven't actually touched, so I'm using some of that, but if we do happen to find an abundance of nests, as we're not allowed to harvest from the wild, we are allowed to supplement that with egg rations, and this is the season for it. So hopefully I'll get lucky and I'll find a few more nests. I've got some nettles in there, I've got some ground elder, garlic mustard, common hogweed shoots, dandelion, and some hop shoots, and I've just fried all of it apart from the wild garlic. I put that in at the very end. I fried it up in some venison tallow and then stuck it under the grill. Right, here we go. We've got our lovely, amazing frittatas. Everything's crisped up so nicely. Oh, that is amazing. Just what I needed this morning. Now I try not to go overboard with the eggs, even though we do have a ration. When I was away, I only had 1 egg that needed using up, and throughout most of that journey I was just living on pemmican and crackers and the cookies that I made out of the pendulous sedge seed. So I made sure that I wasn't really relying too much, even though we are given egg rations, to mimic what we would have gathered in the hunter-gatherer hunter-gatherer days, and if it wasn't for the wild birds' eggs being illegal to take, then we could have done that instead of buying in the best quality eggs that you can. But yeah, so because of that big goose nest that I found, I thought, okay, I am going to indulge in some of my rations today. My body needs it. I haven't got a broth going at the moment. I haven't got out to hunt yet, so so this is kind of exactly what I need, and it's just packed with so many wild greens. It's so nourishing and so delicious. So I'm going to eat that and savour it. It's so good. Right, so this is our lunch. Here we've got Dan back with us, and we've also got Carlos and Emily, who have been doing some filming with us today. So they're doing an amazing programme that's going to be all around the Wild Biome project. So they're filming everyone along the journey. For lunch, we've got some roe meat that from the roadkill deer from before, and we've made a stew overnight. And there's some wild greens, and there's some nettle, some red dead nettle. What else was it? Garlic mustard, wild garlic, and I think that was about it. Oh, and a bit of ground ivy in there and a touch of water mint. And then Dan has brought these amazing, what do you call them?
Oh, they were just like sort of fritters, really. It's salmon and some pickled chicken of the woods from, I think it's a couple of years old actually.
Okay.
Which I opened for this.
Oh, amazing.
And there's some wild garlic in there as well, and chestnut flour and some egg and various seasonings.
Perfect.
Would you guys like to try a bit of the salmon frittata, chicken in the woods? Awesome. Please try it.
So Emily and Carlos, how are you finding this whole journey? I'm sure you've tasted some really amazing things along the way.
That's a hard question. I just think it's just like you go into like a whole different world. Us as observers is a totally different experience as obviously you guys who are doing it, but it's like everyone's been so generous. Like, even though this is your main food source, you're still sharing it with people, and I'm really grateful for that. And all the food that we've had is like delicious, even like badger fat.
I didn't think you guys were going to try that. You were just like, yeah, sure. Put it in my mouth.
I think you need to have an open mind.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm loving it. I mean, I'm you're feeding us here as the other foragers have been feeding me. This sharing experience is amazing because you share everything. It almost feels like it's just there and you take it and you share it. It's like it's part of a socio-economical structure that you are creating here with each other, with these 26 people and the other people that are on the sides, like Dan's partner or Emily and I, or your friends as well, or other people around. So that's really good.
And what's your favourite thing you've tried over the whole journey so far?
Hogweed shoots were really nice. Slightly fried on some tallow, no? You call it tallow, the deer fat.
Yeah.
And it was really good.
Yeah,
hogweed.
Turkey scratchings.
Yes, all the scratchings were really
You
good.
like those, didn't you?
Yes, and then I tried also what the Native Americans,
the pemmican.
With Rupert, and that was very special. I felt like suddenly like my whole brain had to readjust, and I felt like it was an experience to be eating that because it was like so complex but so simple at the same time.
Yeah.
I felt like I could be in the middle of nowhere right now, like I could be like searching for animals here, and I'm just eating this to survive and manage to like hand down this deer I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So very primal to like certain.
Emily, what was the most favourite thing you've tried over the whole journey?
To be honest, more than 50% of what I've tried, I have no idea what it is. That goes to show how experienced I am at foraging. But One of the things I really liked was something that Dan offered me yesterday, and it was that what we drank. What was that? And I said it tasted a bit like Ribena and yogurt.
Yeah, it was a juice made from rowan berries, sloes, and haws from Hawthorne, just from the freezer.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Cool. And I'm gonna dig into this before it gets cold. I'm just having a little go with a slightly different cookie blend. I used the 50% pendulous sedge to pendulous sedge, but I substituted a 1/4 cup of the one with the husk for some reed mace just to alter the texture, and we have some powdered sea buckthorn pulp here, and then we of course have the blueberries. So we're going to see how this mixture comes together. I'm hoping that it will give a nice tang and texture. So this is in preparation for going to BBC Radio Northampton tomorrow, so I'm just making some snacks to take along. So I've been making a lot of cookies lately. I'm just kind of getting the knack of using the pendulous sedge and reed mace and trying to find the right blend while I haven't got any of the acorn flour ready yet. So here are the finished cookies that I made for the radio station tomorrow. The variation kind of worked. It's not too sweet as I expected because I didn't put a lot of honey in there, but they're cooled down now, so let's give them a little try. The change in texture is really good, and you've got the sea buckthorn flavour in there and the blueberries. It's not as tangy as I wanted it to be, but I'll have to play with that. I've got some sea buckthorn pulp coming from Sea Buckthorn Scotland later this week, so fingers crossed that I will be able to use some of that. But it works, and that's the main thing. Yeah. I just thought it would give us time to just kind of figure things out and...
Yeah, I mean, it's with the breakfast show, it's just going to be a case of rushing you in and out of the studio to make it as seamless as possible for the listener.
Well, Graham's going to stick in with me because we've got a guy called Richard come in who is a forager, and he's taking part in a study to see whether you can survive on just foraged stuff, and he's brought us stuff to try, so we're looking forward to this. It's got something that said jerky, and Graham's ears pricked up and was like, I think I might stay in for this. We like a good study on this programme, but I don't know whether you've ever been asked to take part in one or volunteered yourself. My next guest has done just that in a study that is definitely a bit different. Richard Mawby teaches foraging in Gayton and will be eating nothing but wild food for 3 months to see what impact it has on, well, the body, the gut, and all of that. And he's sitting opposite me now. Morning.
Yes, hello.
Graham has stayed with us because there's, it's yeah, exactly. So first off, just tell us a little bit about the study then. Why are you doing it?
So it's part of a study with, so I'm doing it with 25 other foragers, and Monica Wilde decided to do this because she lived on wild food for a whole year over lockdown, and she was getting her gut tested during that time. And she wanted to write a paper on, gather some data, write a paper, get some information on a slightly bigger sample of people to see exactly how the gut microbiome changed on a wild food diet.
Her surname is Wilde.
Yes.
Right, that's great, isn't it? So how long have you been a forager?
Over a decade now.
And you teach it, yeah?
I teach it, yes.
Okay. Have you ever foraged, Graham?
Well, I picked blackberries.
Yeah, so all of us have picked blackberries at some point.
True.
I haven't got a pheasant.
You've weed on his strawberries. I picked wild garlic last year,
yes.
and that was heaven. And I made a wild garlic pesto for the first time
That's
ever.
one of the best things to make when you're first into foraging.
Really
yes.
nice. Okay, so you've been doing this for a month,
I've done it for a month so far. I've got 2 months to go.
and how are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I lost about 6 kilos in the first couple of weeks, but that was because I was harvesting birch sap constantly, 145 litres of birch sap.
Of what? Sorry.
Birch sap. So out of a birch tree, and then you reduce that down into a syrup, which I've got a little bit here to try later.
So you're not eating anything else?
Pretty much wild. Because it is to test our guts, we are given certain things like an egg ration from the best eggs you can find. Because in the wild, in our hunter-gatherer days, we would have had access to eggs, but in the UK, unfortunately, you're not allowed to harvest wild birds' eggs. So we have been accommodated certain rations of that.
And you can't go and grow veg. That's
you can't go and grow veg,
cheats.
no.
Right, okay. Right, so talk to us about what you've got in front of you, because you've brought in various jars and Tupperware.
So I have got, first of all, because I know you're dying for this. This is the pheasant jerky.
Pheasant jerky.
So this was brined and it was smoked.
Okay. I mean, I have to say, Graham's quite keen. I'm not sure how I'm feeling about this.
Okay, I'll give it a nibble. See what you think.
It's good. It's good.
So how did you do that?
So that was brined overnight in a salt solution. This was just during pheasant season. There was like about 600 going for nothing.
It wasn't run over.
It wasn't run over. No, unfortunately.
We're not eating roadkill.
No,
just to confirm.
There is a bit of roadkill in the cookies.
Oh.
No, not meat. But okay, so quickly on to the next thing. So we've got
really nice.
This is one of my food staples, especially when I'm travelling. I'll just give a tiny bit because this is a precious resource.
Okay.
This is a Native American recipe called pemmican. So there's dried pheasant and venison in here, dried fruit, and then there's a bit of dried fat. Not dried fat, rendered fat. But it all comes together and it lasts for about a year if you keep it, if it's done properly.
I mean, I normally have overnight oats and a banana. I'm just going to say that. So
just give it a try, see what you think.
Graham's face. I can take or leave that.
It's quite sweet, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a bit of sweetness in it because I put some fruit in there.
No, sorry,
you don't like that.
No, I think that's pretty good. I like that.
Okay, so this is the
that's good.
So these are my.
I'm desperately trying to hide how much I hate this. Sorry.
What's this one?
So these are wild cookies.
Oh wow.
So there's pendulous sedge seed, reed mace. So that's bulrush flour in there. It's not that sweet, but there is birch syrup in there. There's honey in there.
Hang on a minute. Which was the bit that you said there was some roadkill in?
Just the badger fat. Because you know when you put cookies, you put fat in cookies, so there's a bit of badger fat and a bit of venison tallow, but you can't taste that.
Can I please confirm, where have you got a dead badger on the side
yeah,
of the road?
It's a roadkill, but it's...
Eat it.
You go for that one. I'm not going to go for that.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
No, these are cookies. If you like cookies, you'll enjoy it.
I like the sweets.
Oh, will I?
You can't taste the badger.
Annabelle, we've
You
got a great
can't,
guest
you
coming in.
can't.
He's a forager. He's been doing this really good study. He's going to feed you roadkill.
Nice, that's nice.
No, it's really good.
Nice.
So that's pendulous sedge and reed mace.
Yeah, that is quite nice.
Pendulous sedge and reed mace flour. So
I couldn't eat a lot.
No, that's the thing with wild food. You can't really eat a lot of it anyway. So watch that doesn't drop too much.
There's something coming in a jar now. What's this?
So this is birch. This is birch syrup made from. So I reduced 145 litres of birch sap down over the spring. And it's quite a very deep molasses kind of sugar flavour.
It's like tree colour, isn't it?
And sugars and fats are going to be one of the hardest things that we're going to have to find on this wild diet. So I made.
So what do you use? What do you put that with?
So with the cookies, or I just have a teaspoon of it when I need it, or on my acorn porridge.
Acorn.
So I gathered loads of acorns. During the last year, and you have to leach that and you just make it into a you make it into a flour.
It's kind of a full-time job, though, isn't it?
It can be, yes. I mean, but some of the foragers are doing it on a full-time job themselves, so they're actually managing to work around their busy lifestyles.
That's the problem, isn't it? All this foraging takes
yes,
time.
Yes.
Because you teach it, yeah.
I teach it, yes.
And people do courses, come and.
Yeah, there are a lot of the foragers that are doing it run their own courses.
Okay. You're in the village of Gayton?
I'm in Gayton.
So is Gayton, like, rich, a good place to be?
It is. It's around the countryside, and I've got some space I can do it as well, and I can hunt there and things like that. So.
God, that syrup stays with you,
Yes,
doesn't it?
it's
I'd
a
say
really
the-
deep flavour.
The jerky was my favourite.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
what we started with.
Yes,
wasn't
yes.
it?
Really good.
Shall
Are
I-
you hungry?
No, I actually feel really satisfied with everything that I've been eating. It's smaller meals, but I think you're getting a lot more nutrition through it. So you actually feel more satiated, especially with all the bitters that are in the wild. It's something that we don't eat in the modern world. So the bitters really help to keep your body satisfied, help you absorb more nutrition, help
Do you
your gut bite.
Do you not just
microbiome.
sometimes think, oh, I like a Big Mac?
I have never actually craved anything on this diet. I was on raw milk staple for like 7 years before I started this, and I don't even crave the raw milk.
I mean, I mean, I take my hat off to you. It's quite some. It's. Well, I mean, obviously, you're not finding it that hard.
No,
To me,
I-
it seems really difficult. Just briefly, I mean, Graham, says, do you ever crave a Big Mac? You must be saving a fortune, aren't you?
I'm saving a fortune. I didn't really eat that badly before this diet anyway. I used to eat from good sources at places like farm shops and things like that. And I still foraged on the side, like your greens and things like that. So it was.
And I presume mushrooms are your friend, are they?
I've foraged quite a few mushrooms over
But
winter,
you have
yes.
to be very careful with
That
mushrooms.
depends, as long as you know the really poisonous ones. And I mean, of course, yeah, you do have to be careful with anything wild. You need to know what you're picking before you do stick it in your mouth.
Yes.
But once you do, it's amazing. The diversity of things that are out there is just remarkable.
Well, I have never eaten the roadkill badger fat on a Tuesday morning
You will
before
now,
9
Kate.
o'clock,
You'll be
but that
stopping
is.
all the time,
Won't
won't you?
I
On the
just?
A5.
That is quite something. Right, well, Forage Frolics, that's brilliant. Good luck with it. 2 months
thank
left.
you,
I mean, when
thank
you
you.
come in next, you're going to be like the size of a
Well, no, I
the
think
flea.
eventually you stop losing it. Like Monica did it for a year, and her partner Matthew, and they only lost what they could lose, and they didn't lose any more than that. They're actually pretty well balanced afterwards. So I think wild food does have a good play in like kind of balancing your body and.
Okay, hide the jerky because I think Graham wants to have some more. Richard, really nice to see you. Thank you
Cheers,
ever so
thank
much
you,
for coming
thank you.
on.
We have some lily root here, and something that I've been pondering over has been trying to make this edible, and now is the time to start harvesting these. I haven't seen much in the way of being able to eat these roots, but there are records, and it involves a lot of boiling, a lot of leaching. And I remember someone trying it once on a YouTube video and feeding it to his family at different stages, and that was quite amusing to watch. But I'm hoping that I can make this perfectly edible and perfectly tasty. So we've cut it all down, and I was just being curious. Now these little things, they're almost like the same texture as potatoes. You can smell them. They do seem to have a little bit of bitterness, but I always thought I'd give one of these a little nibble just to see what they're like raw. Texture's not terrible. Maybe I'm just used to the bitters now, but it's not that bad. That's actually kind of tasty. Maybe I'm used to the bitters, or maybe it's because it's a young shoot. Wow. I think I could work with that, but I'm going to spit this bit out because it's the first time trying it. So that's the first rule of foraging, is that when you are tasting stuff for the first time, spit it out, wait, see what happens. Right, so I'm playing around with a little something here. You might be alarmed to see that is raw meat. These are the offcuts from making the next batch of pemmican. Now, a few years ago, when I had goats, it was a bit more than a few years ago, I put some of the goat meat into a vinegar solution overnight, and then I put that into a lacto-ferment, and it was just an experiment to see if I could ferment meat, which was something that there is a bit of information online about this. You've got to be a little bit careful because, as you know, it's meat. If the wrong thing gets in there, it's going to be bad. But I was quite successful with lacto-fermentation. So what I've done is, this is the lacto-fermented wild garlic that I've just done about a week ago or something. So this is really rich with the lactobacillus bacteria that we really want to give a nice little kickstart to this mixture. So we're going to put this in there, I'm going to stir it into the meat and get it all nice and mixed up in there. And then we're going to add a bay leaf just for a bit of flavour, but it also will help the lacto ferment as well because it's greenery, so we're going to put that in there as well. So what I'm going to do is add a teaspoon of honey, or maybe even less than that. You don't need an awful lot, so maybe about that much of honey I'm going to put into the mixture, and we're going to stir that up and get the honey all dissolved in there. Now the reason why we need honey is because when you're fermenting, well, lacto fermentation, it uses up the sugars in the plant matter that it's fermenting. Now what the honey will do is it will add the extra carbs to this mixture, which will enable the lactobacillus to have food, and if it has food it's going to multiply and it's going to create the acidic environment that will preserve this meat. We're just going to put the lid on very loosely, and then we're just going to let it do its thing and stay submerged under the water. So this is the finished product after boiling the Nuphea lutea, the yellow water lily roots, for about 7 times. I was a bit careful, just making sure I did that the first time, and this is the finished product after leaching what I believe are tannins. That's almost like sweet potato. There's still a little bit of bitterness in there, but it's nowhere near the same as acorns, for example. It's not as bitter as that. I'm just going to read a little bit that I found while I was researching yellow water lily, just a little excerpt from this website. Brandy bottle has been used as food and medicine since prehistoric times by many cultures, owing to its wide distribution. The leaves, roots and seeds are considered edible and can be a source of starches. So there we go. The root is very bitter, but people have removed the bitterness by soaking in hot water for long periods of time. The cooked roots can be powdered and used in baking to thicken soups. In Europe, there is also a popular drink made from steeping the flowers. The seeds can also be roasted and popped like popcorn. Wow. Its roots have medicinal uses as well, especially as a mild anti-inflammatory. Some cultures have also used it to help treat infertility, hypertension, and blood diseases. But it does say a caution though that in large quantities it may be toxic, but everything says maybe, it doesn't say it definitely is. We have roasted the lily roots a little bit, and I don't know if this focuses in very well. Can you see? But they've crisped up just a little bit. I roasted them with a bit of badger fat and venison fat, sprinkle of salt, and a little bit of blackberry vinegar. Still quite soft inside because of all that leaching, but they're actually really good. It's been a very, very, very busy couple of days because Carlos and Emily, as you can see, came over to film, to do a lot of filming. So I'm kind of filmed out now. We've been so busy doing films, and then I'm still taking this just as my vlog. So yeah, it's just been busy, constantly taking shots, doing a lot of talking, and this morning I was even on BBC Radio in Northampton, which you've seen in previous clips. I think I am going to have a little bit of a relax because I got back from travelling and then it's just been filming, and I just need a little bit of a respite from all that. The documentary that Carlos and Emily are going to be creating is going to be quite fascinating. It's going to include all the different foragers who have been on this diet and show the progress, show how they've been doing over the course of their experience. And so I'm sure I'll see them again at some point. We'll do some more filming. I think he wants to meet me by the coast and film some of that. So it's just been a bit manic, but yeah, I'm going to finish my lily root experiment. It's edible, so I'm going to enjoy it, and then yeah, it's time to just relax, and I will see you all next time.